Hey guys, what is up? Today I come to you with a triple review of Gintama Poroi Art episodes 4 to 6. Now I did remember saying that I wouldn't do a triple review, but time did really catch up on me, and last week it's not an excuse. Last week I was not feeling good for practically mostly the whole, like more than half of last week. I was not feeling good. I came down with a cold, migraines, and congestion. So I really was not in it to come on camera and do a review. But I will say this, that if I do a triple review arc, it's not going to be something that's frequent, but it may happen once in a blue moon. You can expect that much, at least for the next show, for the next review. And then after that, I'll get back on track. Yeah. But nonetheless, that being said, episode 4 concluded with Ikumatsu's arc. Now, it's going to be a while before we actually see her character once again. That's aside for comedic purposes. But remember, this entire season was supposed to be shown during the 2015 run of Gintama, but for some reason they didn't show it. So these arcs, these missing stories, happened before the Shogun assassination arc and the Shinsengumi's farewell arc. So in this last episode for Ikumatsu's arc, we actually found some stuff that actually you would have never realized until they shown you and you put the pieces together. Now, they explained that her husband Daigo was actually saved at a very young age from as a child when he fell into the riverbank, and her father Matsugoro saved him from drowning. Now, many years later, when Daigo grew up and he married Ikumatsu and they run a ramen shop, and her father eventually became homeless and has been living on the streets, her husband found him and he asked him, begging him that even if you do forget what I told you, do come to our ramen shop and eat ramen with us for your daughter. And the thing that he always remembered was, even if he had a deteriorating memory due to his impaired memory, one day he remembers stuff and the next day he forgets whatever happened the day before. So, and then it gets worse as he's getting older. But the one thing he always remembered, even when his family was poor, was that he would get a large bowl of ramen and separate into 3 portions between him and his wife and his child. That's one thing he never forgot. But eventually Daigo died, we don't know for what reason, and he stopped coming. And that may be to the reason of his memory, him losing his memory as he's getting older. Of course, this episode was quite emotional, as well as some funny parts. They decided to use him as a beating board for the homeless army, despite his memory going away, and also for the fact that the same way he saved Daigo when he fell off the bridge was the same way Ikumatsu, who finally realized after all this time, the homeless man that's been coming into her and her late husband's ramen shop to eat with them during Christmas and New Year's time, was indeed her father. And she never realized that until all of this problem escalated. So as she's running on the bridge trying to get him, one of the homeless army men trying to get at her, and she fell over the bridge trying to save the ramen to bring to her father, and her father went out and saved her. Of course, some time has passed, at least a year or so, and thanks to the help of Katsura and the Odd Jobs, Ikumatsu and her father actually recombined for the first time in a very long time. And without a doubt, we're going to possibly see them still together once everything has slid within the finale of Gintama. Now, into episode 5, where we saw part of episode 5 and the ending of episode 4. Episode 5 actually is 2 parts. So the first part of episode 5 deals with Hasegawa, and Hasegawa wants to end his life once and for all. He wants to commit suicide. Now, we know he turned into a Madaho, and the reason why is particularly because of Gintoki's fall. That's all the way back in season 1. So if you see that episode, then you know why. He was a man that had a job, and because of Gintoki, I forgot particularly how it went down, but Gintoki had some part in it. So his life has been a down spiral ever since then, and he finally decided today is the day that I say goodbye to this cruel and wicked world. So just before he does, he is met by an assassin by the name of Ichiro. Now, we come to find out why Ichiro became an assassin. That's because his sister was taken away from him from an amanta that looks like a boar at a young age to become, was put into slave trade. So he's had on his mind revenge for so many years that eventually he became an assassin and find the person who took his sister. Hopefully that being she is still alive to this day. And of course, Hasegawa is thrown into this mess because not only is he met with Ichiro, but then he meets another assassin who's trying to take out Ichiro, protecting the boss who's Ichiro's trying to kill. So he's basically a ping pong in this whole game of which assassin can kill him and whose shades is better than who. Eventually we come to find out that other assassin is Ichiro's younger sister, Ichiko, who disguises herself as a boy. It's something she's been doing since she was young, and these two siblings have been trying to protect each other for many years. Eventually all things come to an end and the two siblings are reunited and they're saved, but poor Hasegawa was unable to accomplish his mission, so he'll have to wait for another day to go by. So poor Hasegawa, he wasn't able to go bye-bye. You'll have to suffer with the rest of us from now on. Now, and also we'll need him for some important things. Now, the second half of the episode was pretty confusing because it basically told of a folktale, an actual folktale by the name of Momotaro. Now, if you know of this folktale, then do explain it because it dealt with the Shinsengumi and Sasaki. Now, do remember, this season of Gintama takes place before the two arcs that I just mentioned earlier. So of course Sasaki is still alive. It's sad to see that and knowing his fate later on in the series. So, whenever these two police forces are together, either something dramatic is going to happen or something hilarious. In this case, it was hilarious. So Hishikata, Kondo, Okita, Sasaki, and Nobame are taking a crash course as well as others in the police force just for a class. And the head of the police force basically put them into the simulator that looks very real, like they're by a riverbank, and they have to investigate in this case where Momotaro was in this huge peach and he is presumed dead on the spot. Now, they were explaining the tale as Momotaro went into this island with his friends. There was like a bird, a monkey, and a dog. Now, many suspect that when he washed up on shore with his dead body, they felt like it was his grandparents, the grandma and the grandpa, that killed him and left his body to rot. Then there was also this part where some of them believe that his companions were the ones that kill him. But then there was the other part where they said no, they took an x-ray of him and found that when they were on sea, he ate his friends in order to survive. And not only that, how he died, he ate a daigo, it got stuck in his throat and he suffocated because of that, and eventually he washed up on shore dead. But it all didn't really make sense because he had this line splitting him in half, showing blood, and it's like, hold on, how does he have this and then he ate his friends, his companions, and all this doesn't add up? What we come to find out is that even though they were making all these points and they were all connecting to something, they were all wrong at the end of the day. They were all wrong. We came to find out on the island they were searching for some treasure or whatever the case may be. This big old demon, Onigashimu, came and ate his companions and ate him, then disguised as Momotaro, and it comes to find out that even though the dango was stuck in his throat, he did not die from that. He actually died from a brain tumor. Now you're wondering, how is that possible? Like, we were making all these connections and they make the absolute most sense, and then you come to find out he had a small brain tumor that actually killed him. And all of them were wrong at the end of the day. None of them were able to solve the case from the stimulator. So therefore they failed that little exercise, and I found that so hilarious, and I was shocked by it. I was shocked because no one would have expected that. So, poor these guys really shocked by the end of it, as well as I was. Now to get into this newest episode, episode 6. You know how they always say, watch from a good distance, have the place well lit up, have your earphones in. Do not, make sure your parents are not around, okay? Because this episode has some parts in it that I said I had to pause the video and really question, did Gintama just do this? And then I forgot, wait, this is Gintama. Of course they're going to do something like this. Of course, I'm not going to say in this episode, because I'm not going to say in this review, because it's not child friendly. It's really not, but it was so hilarious. But oh my god, I had to pause the video and just really question, did they really do that? Now, this whole mini arc is just a parody of Parasite. Now, if you ever watched the anime, and I do believe the anime came out in 2014 and finished in 2015, or you read the manga, then you understood the many references that was done in this episode, and it's going to continue until the ending of this little arc. So this arc focused on this sword that came from the planet Excalibur by the name of Kusanagi. Of course, Tetsuko is back in the series, and we're seeing her for the first time since the Four Devas arc. So that's been quite a while. That's been back since 2011. So it's good to see her once again. So she's here, and she does her duties as a swordsmith. And it comes to find out this sword, Kusanagi, was in her shop, and he decided to take place in Gintoki's behind as his scabbard. The reason for that is, on his planet, the species are able to shapeshift into weapons that are used for warfare, battles, or whatever the case may be. Something kind of similar to Parasite. I may be wrong, but it's kind of similar in that sense. Like I said, this is going to be a reference parody off of Parasite. So eventually he came to Earth, and he was involved with the wars that happened in Japan between the men and everything of that sort. So he was in his prime time when he came to Earth, but eventually his blade has dulled, and he was separated from his wife, who was his scabbard by the name of Scabbarina. So these two were separated. He was thrown aside while she was taken to like museums or people that sell these certain merchandise, and they have not seen each other for many years. So he didn't want to go around with just his sword, his blade, blaring out to everyone. He felt naked, so he took place in Gintoki's behind, just so that he could eventually find her once again. And they kept saying, Gintoki's dirty behind and everything, making fun of him like he never really cleans himself. Sorry about that. So that was pretty hilarious. Eventually, what happened was he was arrested. Gintoki was arrested by Okita, who eventually they bring back to the Shinzagumi headquarters, and he rips out Kusanagi from Gintoki backside, which looked very painful. It looks like a death scene would happen in the room. It comes to find out that Kusanagi's wife is actually Okita's scabbard, but the thing is, she is now willing to go back with Kusanagi, because I think it was back in 2011 version where we seen in that game Stimulator, where anyone that comes across Okita or gets close to him turns into an automatic masochist. Like, there's no doubt you become a masochist when you're coupled with Okita. So it's basically NTR version, Gintama version in this episode. So because of that, Kusanagi is so shamed for the fact that his wife no longer wants him, but instead wants a new young guy. He decides to really implant himself into Gintoki's behind. Before it wasn't that bad, but now he's like, he's all the way in, and it's like, Gintoki, I don't know how you're not dead yet, and I don't understand how you don't have Hermanoids as of yet, like Hanzo. You may have to go ask for that cream from him after this arc. So these two are actually going to fight, and which is something I'm actually excited for, because even though this is used for comedic purpose, the fact that we have two super sadists, we have Okita and Gintoki, two people who are known for their sadistic behavior and acts, are going to go head to head come next episode. I'm actually excited for that. And I remember when I mentioned that this is like basically a Parasite parody, there is a manslayer who kills other people, but not only that, their blades look like they're ripped off, teared off, whatever the case may be, and it comes to find out that his blade, which is an all black blade, is of the same species as Kusanagi. So remember, in Parasite, whenever they realize someone of their own kind is near them, they get this kind of feeling, like they get this this tingly feeling. This thing, if you understood that reference, this tingly feeling, this thing that they sense that one of them is close by. So we can expect those two to also clash, but I cannot wait for next week's episode to see how Gintoki and Okita are going to fare against each other, because one is like the best swordsman within the Shinsengumi, and the other is Shiroyasha, the white demon from the Joy War. So we're going to see how these two go head to head come next week's episode, and I cannot wait. So if you guys saw this week's episode and the other week's episode of Gintama Poroi arc, with episodes 4 to 6, I would love to hear your thoughts. See it down below in the comment section below. If you understood the references in this episode, as well as another reference I was told, I believe it goes by the name of Ashita no Joe. We have not seen that reference since Shinpachi versus Toshi, or the alternative side of Hichikata. As well as if you understood the folk lord Momotaro, I would love if someone who knows of it to explain it in further detail so I can get better understanding of it. And also the links are in the description box, so you guys go check that out. And I'm Kimi-chan of Anime Legends Podcast, and I will see you guys later. Bye!